Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cyber Voices, the official podcast of the Australian Information Security Association, otherwise known as AISA. I'm your host, as always, David Willett, and it is my pleasure to have you with us as we explore the diverse voices of the Australian cyber industry. This special edition of Cyber Voices was recorded at CyberCon 2024 and is part of our series from the conference highlighting some of the thought leaders that came together to make CyberCon so special. All right, we're back. Cyber Voices live at CyberCon 2024. I'm here with today's co-host, Reece. Reece, how you going?
I'm very well, David.
Excellent. It's, you've gone from being a guest on the show to a host on the show. You just loved it that much?
It's a bit daunting doing this with you, but we'll hopefully live up to your standard, David.
You going to be a natural, I'm sure, as is our guest for Cyber Voices at CyberCon. We've got Monica Millar. Monica Millar is the program manager for the New South Wales Cyber Business Exchange. Been facilitating that program for close to 18 months.
That's
about
correct,
right.
Yes,
yeah.
18
but
months.
Who's counting, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
The program has been going for 2.5 years now.
Ah, right,
so
yes.
I've looked after 18 months of those 2.5 years.
Excellent. And this is a program which has been funded by the New South Wales government and run in partnership with AISA. So for the uninitiated out there, Monica, tell us a little bit about the New South Wales Cyber Business Exchange.
The New South Wales Cyber Business Exchange, it is a great program. As said, funded by Investment New South Wales. AISA actually bid for the tender 2.5 years ago. The whole purpose of the program is to uplift cyber capability in SMEs, and that's undertaken through a variety of pillars in the program. There's events and networking, there's focus groups, there's meet an expert, there's the mentor program, an amazing mentor program. And we've also undertaken a cyber skills study to understand the gaps of what employers are looking for in the market.
All right, well, I definitely want to hear more about that a little bit later. But when it comes to the Cyber Business Exchange, you work in various sectors such as agriculture and defence. Can you elaborate a little bit more on the specific activities the program has facilitated and what the response has been?
So in the particular sectors, one of the key components is focus groups. And that was really the starting point, the launching pad of really getting in-depth into the sectors. So agriculture started with the agriculture focus group. Across all the others, same health and medical, defence and aerospace, where we have drawn in stakeholders within the ecosystem and invited cyber companies to really sit and listen to presentations on who is who within the sector, how to navigate the sector, who are the peak bodies, what are the funding opportunities, who should they be speaking to, and what are the barriers to entries. And it's really interesting because each sector has a very different approach to entering the sector. They're diverse, they're different, the language is different. There are challenges in all of them in navigating the networks, but the focus groups was then designed just to that introduction into the networks to draw in, the cyber companies. And then we also expanded from there. And say, for example, with agriculture, we then invited participants of the focus group to attend events and networking activities. One of the particular ones was a trade show that we attended in Tamworth, it was really quite an amazing experience because we were speaking to farmers, we were speaking to primary producers, we were speaking to suppliers, but not just networking with the industry. Another major component of growing business is speaking to all the other companies, that are exhibiting at the actual event because they are all potential business opportunities also. And one of what really sticks in my mind with all of the agricultural trade shows that I've been to two, actually I've been to another one recently also in Orange, which was, I have a friend. I have a friend who's lost $100,000 from a cyber hack.
Everybody knows someone, right?
Everybody knows. Every farmer has a farmer friend. So you don't necessarily know whether you're talking to the farmer that was hacked, but the intercepting of the invoices, the changing of the accounts, they all had a story. And it is happening so often. And I think that my view is that there's, probably embarrassment in the agricultural industry to talk about it, But it's why it's so important that we continue to, increase the message of the importance of cyber within these sectors and introduce our cyber companies to the stakeholders and the whole sector to try and help be part of the solution. So the focus group introduces, the events connects, and then leading through to that, helping with the problem solving.
So we know that the SME sector is, vastly underrepresented, right? It's the missing middle. It's no surprise in this country, though. We are a country of small businesses. We know there's about 2 million organisations that have revenues less than 3 million a year, right? So we see these issues crop up. I'm keen to understand, are you seeing that connective tissue have results? What are you kind of seeing at the moment in terms of success from those interactions?
To give you a response, yes. So there's two ways to look at it, which is the traction of leads, and it's also the business converted. I cannot give you any metrics at the moment because we're only starting the reporting on that. But what I can talk about is that the cyber companies anecdotally have been giving me, feedback from all the activities that they've been attending through the New South Wales Cyber Business Exchange. It has continued to increase the number of leads that they're developing through what they're getting through their business. So the opportunities that we're offering, and also it's in alignment with what the cyber companies, we have some very engaged ones, quite a few actually, a very large collection of companies. And they, through attending activities and events of the program, have continued to get traction into the market. So it is leading to results. Again, I can't qualify it yet because that level of reporting hasn't been completed.
Definitely sounds like you can feel the improvement that's happening there. I find it really fascinating, the stories that you got from talking to farmers and in the agricultural industry, because there are so many different industries out there which we probably still don't even think about when it comes to cyber threat and cyber risk, who are really underrepresented in a way. Are you finding that what other industries out there are you finding that are experiencing this same kind of underrepresentation?
Health and medical's been an interesting one. There are so many different components to the health and medical sector, whether it's biotech, whether it's software, whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's hospitals, whether it's aged care. And each different component of the health and medical sector undertakes or looks after their cyber differently. We've had several sessions with our health and medical focus group, and they've also attended events that we've been able to facilitate with the MedTech Association, and navigating those networks, and also the acceptance is probably not the right word. The way that cyber is viewed and how the companies, the larger businesses, look to undertake it is not clear because they all have their in-house, CISOs and their in-house processes and so forth. And they're all so different. Navigating that network has been very, very difficult. And they've actually really been upfront about it also, how it just is so different across all the subsectors of medical.
I think the thing with the medical industry, right, is it's personal information itself is one thing, but it's that risks to patient safety. And we all know the big stories, the corporates, the large hospital networks that keep us up at night. But even on a smaller scale, I remember there was a GP practice that lost their entire patient database and the medication that they'd scripted out. And they actually almost treated it as if it was a patient recall issue because they wanted to ensure that the advice that was given to their patient customers, they could actually document and see what it was for continuity purposes. So, I mean, they get it, right? But, to your point earlier, small businesses, these are very small family-owned businesses, GP partnerships, etc.
There are so many of them. You've got your GPs, you've got your chemists, you've got just so many. There are so many of those businesses. My sense is just from the conversations, people don't, or businesses don't necessarily recognize how important it is until they're impacted.
Yeah.
So what agriculture, medical, other sectors, legal, I've facilitated an event with cyber companies in the legal network, and they all say the same thing. Oh, yes, we know it's important. Yeah, well, we're not quite sure what to do about it. Oh, we know we have to do that. And I don't believe they get to that point until they've been impacted and just realize how serious it is.
you're working with a lot of different organizations across a lot of different fields. What has their experience been? And more specifically, what is the feedback that you're receiving from companies and organizations that have been involved with the program?
We've received actually very strong feedback from companies involved in the program. The opportunities are not just to connect with industry, but they're also connecting with government. They're having conversations that are opening doors for them. Like I have 2 examples where cyber companies have actually collaborated. Now, I'd like to actually expand on the collaboration of cyber companies. That was another great event we had recently. Our smaller SMEs don't necessarily have all the product offerings to tender for government contracts. So what they have found is that if they partner with other SMEs, other cyber companies, and then that gives them the breadth of what allows them to apply for the contract, and then they actually facilitate the contract in partnership. And we have had some great success with companies converting, federal government grants is one particular one that happened recently. That one was my CISO and Risk Associates, and that was a collaboration that was undertaken, and they were awarded a federal government contract. So the partnerships that are being developed, yes, directly with the sector, but also in partnering and tendering for government contracts.
So, under your leadership, this program's been running for about 18 months. And as you've said, lots of success stories, sort of micro stories, lots of impact for SMEs. Tell us about your hopes for the future for programs like this. What would you like to see going forward?
That's a great question. Filtering down the first layer of having started with the connections, the networking, the mentor program, the meet an expert, what really is useful, or what the next stage is the development of special interest groups. Now, this is a it's a great opportunity for cyber companies. So if we look at developing special interest groups, filtering to your health and medical group, your agriculture, you got the finance sector, you got the critical infrastructure sector. This is the next stage, because then these special interest groups can start working together to actually help solve problems in the cyber area, bring problems to the table, collaborate and meet with industry, look for solutions. But it also allows cyber companies to actually speak amongst themselves and go, well, I've come across this. Well, yes, we've come across that also. Well, maybe we can try and help the sector in this way. Then through these special interest groups, we can actually draw in speakers from the specific sectors. Critical infrastructure is one of your large ones, so that they can just talk about what's new in the sector, what's upcoming in the sector, what are the pain points, what's hurting, because this will help cyber businesses start thinking about how can I be a solution to that problem. And I think that's the natural progression of the next stage.
Yeah, of course. And when organizations are limited on budget and time, we have to find those efficiencies, right? Leverage that collective experience.
And not just that, when you do look at also funding activities, a lot of this can be undertaken online. So you do not have to fly people around the country. You do not have to bring people into the one room. We can undertake the special interest groups virtually.
Yeah, amazing. And you've made the big trip from New South Wales down to Victoria for CyberCon today, with your booth located literally right next door to where we are recording. So you've travelled very, very far. You're out there talking to people, delegates on the floor about the work that you're doing. How's that conference experience been so far? I know it's only day one, but what kind of conversations are you having? What are you hearing from delegates out on the floor?
We have been run off our feet, and it's only the morning of day one.
It's a big year.
Now, I have been thinking about that. As the program now has hit 2.5 years, we now have brand recognition. The program is known. What the program does is known. And there's also the relationships developed and the partnerships made. An example, a speaker, Fabian, who just attended a few moments ago, I met him in Canberra, and he was speaking. He's a lawyer within cyber. Just generally, you make connections. They come to the booth to talk to you. You introduce them to the cyber companies, creates more connections, and then opportunities grow. So I found from a program manager's perspective, I've been run off my feet, catching up with people, and the cyber companies have, and I put it down to that brand awareness of what we do. They know it's New South Wales government funded. They know we have the cyber companies, which is drawing so many conference attendees to have conversations about what their needs are, what they're looking for, any answers they may have. So so far it's been enormous.
Well, you're probably in for a very busy couple of days because I think we've got somewhere in the order of about 6,000 odd delegates due to come through over the next few days. And I think it's a very interesting year because there's a lot of new things to talk about. And there's a lot of people really wanting to come together in a big way to sort of, whether it be AI or anything else that might be going on in the space. One question I was interested in asking, and you may just have some thoughts on this as opposed to some solid answers, but have you seen any other interest from the other states in developing similar programs, or have you had anyone come knocking and asking about what some of the lessons learnt are, or how it could be taken to Victoria or Queensland or somewhere else?
Continuously.
Yeah.
We have met with Canberra. We actually spent time with Canberra in having a conversation. This was a year ago, with regards to, how our program is facilitated and any takeaways and so forth. So yes, we have. We are quite recognised by the other states in what we do, and I do put that down to the successes of the program. Interestingly, every state have set up similar type New South Wales cyber business exchanges. They either have a cyber hub, which is, so we're a funded program, they have a cyber hub, or they have an individual person. Now, these groups meet all the time, and they're aware that we've undertaken a cyber skills study, and they're all waiting, continue to follow up on, has it been released? What are the outcomes? So not just from the activities we undertake, but the program also now has that additional recognition of having developed the first cyber skills study, which we have launched at the conference here today. And it's really interesting because some of the most important cybersecurity competencies for someone entering a career are cybersecurity fundamentals, data security, access control, cloud security, and human factors. And more than 80% of respondents rated these areas as extremely important. So the study is highlighting what is being found to be the most important. Some of the recommendations that are stemming from the report is organisations in Australia need to recognise that all new cybersecurity hires will need training inside their new position. Need more training, on the job training. Students and future workers need better, clearer information about the skills and knowledge pathways. So that would be the confusion in the industry. You've got your micro skilling, you've got your security, you've got your university degrees, you've got on-the-job training, whichever it may be, but there needs to be a way that they better understand the skills and pathways.
It speaks to something that has come up a lot on the podcast, which is when it comes to skills gap and talent pipelines, there's probably still more of a recruitment strategy which is around looking for the Ferrari, if you know, the unicorn, or I want to say, looking for Ferrari and buying a Barina, because I think that undervalues some of the amazing young talent that's coming up in the cyber industry, but more being willing to accept that you're going to need to start finding people who need to develop. I've been working in cyber for about 20 years, and it used to be a much smaller industry, and you went with the people you knew, right? And they'd done all their CCNAs and all that kind of stuff, and had all the necessary acronyms after the names, but you can't do that anymore. I mean, you can certainly, for certain roles, you certainly need to be very specific and deliberate about who you go and hire. But other times, it's like a lot of people need to come in and they need to be given room to grow, and they need to figure it out what it is they want to do. And I think there's still a lot of people who are struggling to take that chance a little bit. So I think that's why that is coming across so clearly.
So you look maybe at your smaller businesses who maybe hire not as senior person for the role with the expectation that they can deliver on what the business requires.
Yeah, exactly.
How is on-the-job training going to work there? Who's going to mentor the employee? Who's going to help develop the employee?
Yeah, and it's such a competitive market too. So all of those highly experienced people who I referred to, they can get gobbled up by some of the larger firms and larger companies. And that's where smaller organizations can take advantage of, whether they be grads or something like that, in terms of just creating that talent pipeline.
Absolutely. And we actually on the booth at the moment have a business, one of our cyber businesses, who is very successful with their graduate program. They have one of their graduates here, and he is so excited. He's so into his industry, trying to grab every component of this conference, just has his fingers everywhere, attending sessions. The excitement is just absolutely phenomenal. But you look at why the excitement. Yes, the graduate loves the industry, but so supported also by the cyber business that's employed him. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, and how rewarding to see someone so absorbed in the conference and in the event like that.
Absolutely.
I think that's where ASIA is so important, right? Just being able to role model and give opportunities to that new generation that comes through. And it's such great results for this report, and keen to give it a read.
So one of the other pillars of the program is the mentoring program, and that's where we recruit the mentors, and they are ASA members, passionate to give back to their industry and help develop the mentees. The mentees that we recruit for the program have had to have been working in the industry for a few years, so they've got a certain level of, work experience within the industry. And then, it's a structured program, but once they start having their conversations, it's very one-on-one with the mentor. And I have a gentleman who came through the program last year. Gentleman came through the program last year, and he was actually transitioning out of having been in former industries, his own small business. He had then gone to study GRC. So he had all his GRC qualifications and elected to go on the mentor program to help develop that next step that would then lead him to get a role. And he was successful. So the mentor program to him was not to get a job, but to be mentored, to set his goals. He had all of his, the degree and former experiences. And so he actually credits the program for the role he has. He says he would not be in the role he is with Tesla. I think it's called a Talus, part of Talus, if it hadn't been for the program. And I was interested. So he actually came to the booth this morning, and I said, well, hi, what made you get into cyber? And he said, well, because I was attacked. And he, having that's right, HR recruitment company, HR recruitment consulting and marketing. When COVID hit, he'd received a phone call, not realizing it was a hacker. And the question was, look, we need to give you your test results. It was actually, they said they were from North Shore Hospital. We need to give you your test results. Can you give us your date of birth? Then the hacker was able to, there was identity issues, got into the bank accounts, got into the Telstra accounts, within a short amount of time, already lost $24,000 apart from, and then he called the police, and the police said, there's nothing you can do. I mean, I don't really quite understand how that works, but there's actually nothing they could do. And then he thought, no, this is the industry I want to go in. I want to help be part of the solution.
That is an incredible story, and something like that must make being the program manager and the Cyber Business Exchange so rewarding.
It's so rewarding. Working with passionate companies, working with the most amazing people who either own the companies, work within the companies, so passionate about what they do, their warmth and friendliness. I'm up front. I'm not a cyber person. I can talk cyber now. I really enjoy cyber now.
Well, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, both with the Cyber Business Exchange and with ASA. It's been a pleasure to have you join us here in the Talus CyberCon studio. And thank you for lending us your voice today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monica.
Well, hello there, fellow podcasters. Are you looking to level up your podcast game? Well, let me tell you about This Is a Studio. This Is a Studio is where we record cyber voices each and every single week. They're located at 693 High Street in Pran and Ikla Hawthorne East. They're Melbourne's go-to video podcast studio. Whether you're starting a podcast or taking your podcast to the next level, they've got everything you need: quality equipment, a professional setup, and a team that lives and breathes podcasts. And if you're like us and thinking about going live, these are the folks behind the scenes at events like the AFL Grand Final, Equitina Melbourne 2024, and of course here at CyberCon 2024 as well. Seriously, these guys really know their stuff. So, if you're ready to make your podcast shine, check them out at thisisastudio.com.au. This is a studio where Melbourne's best podcasts come to life. Thank you for listening to another episode of Cyber Voices. Our music is by Sanar Garut, our show artwork is by Studio Quarantine, and we record our show at This Is a Studio in Pran, Melbourne, part of Popplant Productions. Please make sure you follow the show on your podcast platform of choice and leave us a 5-star review. This will help others find the show. Also, please follow the association on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you want to add your voice to our ever-growing chorus of diverse cyber voices, have questions, feedback, or would like to be a sponsor, you can do so by emailing us at cybervoices@aisa.org.au. That's cybervoices@aisa.org.au. Are you an AISA member? If not, you should consider joining our network of over 12,000 members across Australia. An AISA membership can open doors, build professional networks, create lifetime friendships, and offer exclusive training, events, and other perks. Become a member today by heading to our website at aisa.org.au. That is all for today. I hope you will join us again next time on Cyber Voices.